Welcome to day 3 of 10 days of BYO love, bring your own love. And today we're going to be focusing on 2 different aspects of you, the false self versus the authentic self within you. And it's a really important practice and process to have awareness around who is running the show in your mind. Is it your false self, which tends to be a little more critical or a lot more critical and tends to get you revolving a lot more? Or is it your authentic self, which is more like a coach? It tends to elevate you and elevate you and build you up, whereas your false self tends to pull you down. So today we're talking about that, and I want you to be able to be really clear and aware and be able to tune into which one has the talking stick at the moment, right? Which one is running the inner dialogue? Which one is choosing the playlist of your mind? Because it's super duper important. Why is it super duper important? Because your inner dialogue, your self-talk totally influences where your focus goes, right? And there's a really important saying: where thought goes, energy flows. Okay, let me say that again. Where thought goes, energy flows. Okay, so where you are consciously and subconsciously spending thinking and running an inner dialogue, that's where most of your energy is going to go, and it's going to manifest as emotions. Okay, now those emotions, which are energy and motion, if you're in false self, think of a seesaw. If you're in false self mode, they are going to move the energy and start to discount you. Your confidence, your capability is going to go down, 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 down. Okay? Now, whereas if you're in authentic self mode, which is more of that inner coach mode, it's going to cement and build you up and build solid foundation. So it's going to lift you. It's going to lift you. Okay? So one is a growth mindset. That's the authentic self, right? Which is like your inner coach. And the other, your false self, is going to discount you and it's going to be more of a defensive mindset, okay? So which one do you want to be spending most of your time in? Which one do you want to be listening to? Which one do you want to have choosing the playlist of your mind? I know which one I want. I want to spend as much time as possible with my authentic mind, okay? So now, what I want to do next is to give you some examples so that you're clear of when you are in your false self versus when you're in your authentic self. I'd love to know. Pop in the comments below. Do you know? Can you tell the difference? And if so, what does that difference look like? If you're having trouble, maybe pop an example or 2 in the comments below and we can work on them offline, okay? So let's start thinking about what is the dialogue? What are the words? What's the language? What's the sentences that your false self is using? What's the sort of stuff that makes you feel more burdened and less capable and erodes your confidence, okay? So what are those words? What are the languaging? It might be something like, oh, you always make that same mistake. When are you going to get it right? You know, you really don't belong here. You just don't fit in. Gosh, you're slow. Are you still in the same place? Are you back here again? I thought you dealt with this before. Why can't you move on from here? When you say those sorts of words and use that sort of language on you, well, how does it make you feel? What is the energy and the vibrational state of that language to you? It is discounting, isn't it? It takes away your power. It's disempowering. Okay. Now let's change hats. Let's let's move into authentic mode. What are the words? Is the language of the authentic self, right? What are some of the things and the phrases that it's going to say to you? It might say something like, you've got this, you're finding your way. You're getting into the flow. This is starting to feel good and comfortable. Yes, it might be wobbly, but I'm learning. Yeah. So they're more encouraging statements. And a bit like yesterday when I said, how would you want to, when I was talking about applying and adopting soft eyes, how would you want to encourage and talk to your younger version of you, your younger self? And it's a bit like this. Our authentic self talks to you in softer tones, Every now and then it might give you a little, boot. And say, come on, you've been indulgent for long enough now. It's time to get a wriggle on and it's time to get moving. But it doesn't do it in a bullyish sort of way, and it's kind of interesting. If you stop and start tuning into what your false self is saying to you, you might actually find that you have quite an inner bully. So I would love to know if that resonates with you. I'd love to know, what is the language of your false self? What are the main things that you are telling yourself? What's that inner playing list that's going on and on and on? And it's really interesting because let's go back to that statement, where thought goes, energy flows. And it's really, really important that we build our awareness. And this is the one practice that I would love for you to do today. This is the do this one thing moment. It's tune in to the language that's running through your mind, okay, at a conscious and also a subconscious level. And you probably think, well, if it's subconscious, how do I know? Well, when you start to feel a dip in energy, or maybe you're on a high and then all of a sudden, wow, your balloon's popped and you deflate. When you're starting to deflate, stop, right? Close your eyes. Take your focus out of your head and into your heart space and ask yourself, what was the language that was just going through your mind? What were you subconsciously saying? And you will be amazed that your heart or your intuition will be able to pull the threads of what was being said in autopilot behind the scenes. And the reason why it's really important to reflect and tune into the conversations that are going on inside of you, the self-talk, the inner dialogue, at both a conscious and a subconscious level, is because our subconsciouses are such a powerful machine. They have all this auto programming happening, and the auto programming might be false self routines and conversations and language. And we want to become aware of that. We want to be able to spot the stories, the false self stories that we are telling ourselves. And why, again, is this important? Because coming back to where thought goes, energy flows. This is, it's like when you play sport. Let's think about it, tennis or golf. Depending on how your feet and your knees are pointing, depending on the direction they are pointing, will determine where the ball goes, okay? And so it's very similar with our energy. What we are snacking on, those thoughts, whether they're junk thoughts or head trash, that come from the false self, that is going to steer the direction of our energy, right? And then that's what creates the reality of our lives, all right? So it's important to create awareness, just not at a conscious level, but at a subconscious level, because our subconscious is a powerhouse, right? And we want to be able to tune into what it's telling us, because it has the most amazing, powerful capacity. Do you know what? It actually it processes information at like 400 trillion bytes per second. That's a lot of false self stuff. So that's a lot of inner critic chatter going on Or it could be a lot of great auto programming coming from your authentic self. How wonderful would that be? That would be your inner coach in your corner, rah-rah-rahing you along and reaffirming you at every point of the way. Imagine having that capacity to do that. Now, by comparison, our conscious minds only process at 2,000 bytes per second. So, you know, when we say those affirmations and we go, yes, I am, I'm a beautiful person, and you say that at a conscious level as opposed to at a deep subconscious level, that's only surface deep, right? That's only surface deep, and it's going to be overridden by our subconscious minds that process information and data and language and dialogue and all of that is happening at a much faster and deeper rate. So that's where all the activity is happening. And so that's why awareness is so important in all of these exercises. Okay, so do you have a sense? Are you starting to get a feel for what the language of the false self versus the language of the authentic self? Okay, so one elevates, that's the authentic self, and the other deflates or discounts, that's the false self. So your do this one thing for this video, for this day, for day 3 of 10 days of BYO love, is to tune in to your false self. See and tune into your authentic self. See who is running the dialogue. Spot the stories, okay? So the first step is awareness. Once we have awareness and we know what playlist we are running in our own minds, then we can choose a different playlist. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay, in day 4, we're going to talk about the self-judgment, how we, what the messages are behind the false self and the self-judgments that we have, and then how do we turn or retune or choose a different playlist so that we can get our authentic self, turn up the volume on that, okay? And we get that on a regular cycle so that we can elevate ourselves, we can move ourselves into that beautiful growth mindset rather than the defensive or discounting mindset that we're in, okay? So give it a go. Let me know in the comments down below. All right, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.